Welcome to episode 6 of the Shopify Happy Hour. Each episode of this podcast, you'll hear from founders, operators, and experts on growth marketing strategies, lessons learned from the trenches, and other nuggets of e-commerce wisdom shared over a different drink each episode. Today, I'd like to welcome Kevin O'Leary and Will Patch, co-founders of Cape Cod'r Craft Cocktails. Inspired by their seaside stomping grounds on Cape Cod, Cod'r Craft Cocktails are made with real spirits, all natural juice, and are made for those who crave memories of carefree summers. Kevin and Will, welcome.
Hey, Dan. Thanks for having us on.
Thanks so much for being here. So let's kick things off. So we're down here in North Carolina. You guys are obviously up in Cape Cod area. What's the weather like? We're having this episode right in the middle, smack dab of December. So let's
Yeah.
cold, windy. What's going on up there?
We're actually getting a slight reprieve at the moment. But no, it's been consistently cold. I think feels like the coldest December we've had in a while. So I don't know if that's, showing us how the rest of the winter will be, but we're excited for at least a day of a little warmer weather.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, sounds like it's the right opportunity to crack open one of these cocktails, which, first of all, the packaging looks great. I love the can. It's got this very nice kind of vibrant vibe going on. So it's super light, reminiscent of like the New England summers. So can you talk to me about just what we're drinking? I got the vodka cranberry mint, and then the classic, and then I also have the perfect storm, which is the white rum ginger. So what are these guys?
Yeah. So what you were holding there a second ago is actually the genesis of why we got started. Really Cape Cod'r was born in my backyard many, many years ago. I grew up drinking the drink a Cape Cod'r, which historically is a vodka cranberry lime, a little splash of seltzer. I won't say when I had my first, but my family, it always kind of encapsulated that moment together and drinking your favorite drinks surrounded by your favorite people in your favorite place. And I knew like that moment wasn't unique just to myself or my family. So we set out to bring that drink and a few others to life. So ours is made with a little mint, really to showcase kind of the unique family recipe for ours. So vodka, cranberry, mint, all super light, natural ingredients, easy drinking.
I love it. So you just don't remember which month when you were 21 you started.
Exactly.
That's what you're saying, of course, right? Perfect.
Precisely, yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot I want to dig into. I'll crack one of these guys, but so can you talk about kind of the journey? So so you've got this memory of drinking this cocktail, which is native to the region. You want to, share memories with friends and family and people you love and have a good time over this beverage. Can you talk about how you go from that idea to where you're at today?
Yeah. I mean, I know this podcast is only an hour long, so we'll keep it pretty short here. But I think it really goes back to Will and I. Him and I are brother-in-laws. And, I think as I started dating my now wife, Emily, we really bonded over all the things you typically bond with your brother-in-law on. But most importantly, our shared passion for the next big thing. And, we stumbled over, a few interesting ideas over some cocktails, some late night conversations. But, really as we kind of formed this idea, we knew it just had a ton of potential. Really because, the drink at Cape Cod'r has been around for decades. Whether or not, you're drinking a Cape Cod'r in other regions of the US, a vodka cran is a staple, nationwide. So we knew, with the right branding and our story, starting with our flagship classic, but building, other coinciding cocktails, each with, a nostalgic look and feel, premium ingredients, and connecting that brand story as a whole, which is nautical, fun, vibrant, and family.
I think additionally, Dan, we saw just a lot of drinks in the market, national brands that everybody really knows, and no one really voices the pain points that they have around each and every one of those options. It seems it's a lot of options taste synthetic, metallic, sweet, or syrupy. So we wanted to find flavor profiles that were sessionable, light, actually just taste clean. That's what people want. So each one of our 6 flavor profiles encapsulate that clean, light, refreshing taste that we think people intend to find in this concept.
I love it. I love it. Well, I'm about to crack my first one. Am I drinking alone, or are you guys think what's going on here? I mean, it's
You know what?
it's noon somewhere. So
let me go grab it. I never thought I'd start drinking at noon on a Tuesday, but
well, we were tempted to do this later, but to fit into everybody's schedules, went a little earlier. So you know what? Tuesday at noon, let's get this going.
All right.
Well,
it looks like you're
from Shopify Happy Hour, Shopify Brunch Hour.
There we go. And I think it perfectly plays in. Our cocktails were made for being the all day drinking companion, right? Something light, easy drinking. Not going to be too heavy here at 12 on a Tuesday.
Awesome. All right, so Will, which one are you going with?
So I've got our Mermaid's Tail. This one is our tequila, watermelon, and mint. If you can see that. We usually have some cocktail to compare our flavors to, like the Perfect Storm you mentioned you had is our white rum ginger lime, kind of plays like a Moscow Mule or Dark and Stormy. The Mermaid's Tail it's its own flavor. Watermelon and mint. The mint came from the classic. It did so well there. We were like, okay, what other ingredients can mint play well with? And so that's where we arrived at watermelon. And then tequila's hot. People like tequila for health benefits or the like. And so the tequila watermelon mint is where we landed after a lot of surveying and taste tests.
Awesome. Tastes like real mermaid, I'm sure. All right. Well, cheers. Cheers to both of you guys.
Cheers.
Nice. Yeah. So this is very light, refreshing for sure. Definitely picking up a good amount of cranberry and mint. It's really not boozy, so it would definitely be a crushable drink, to knock back a few of these on a weekend afternoon. And effervescent, very, very nice. The coloring is great, very vibrant for anybody who could see. So well done.
Yeah. And
awesome.
That's a good call out, Dan, too. As you pour out other drinks like ours on the market, you're going to see clear liquid, more synthetic, and as well referred to metallic tasting. And with ours, the natural ingredients come out just in the color of the liquid. Each resemble the color of our cans.
Nice. Fantastic. Awesome. Okay. So what year was it that you guys had the decision to move forward with this?
2021, I'd say. I mean, we were drinking a bottle of whiskey over the holidays, and that's where we saw, we kind of called to light the growth in the ready to drink cocktail space, and the brands doing well were those that had a regional relevance and tie. And so that's where it was kind of born. I believe it was kind of like fall 2021, maybe a little earlier than that, where we decided to really learn how to bring a product like this to life. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. It's not just brand idea, but it's cans, cartons, ingredients, logo, can placement with the logo, all the regulation that goes into it. It's a long process. So, it took us about a year to get it ready to launch in May of 2022. So I want to say it was the summer. I think it was the summer down in Wrightsville, Gab.
Gotcha. So throughout that year process, what were some of the kind of major steps in order to go from concept to this product idea? You want natural ingredients, you want it to be refreshing, that you want it to be reminiscent of that original Cape Cod'r cocktail. How do you go from that to having cans with product that's branded that you're able to then sell to the market?
Yeah, I can go first here. I think it's taking every conversation and connection that comes your way. Will and I came from outside the beverage industry, each doing our own things. And, as Will alluded to, it took about a year just to be able to launch. And really what that entailed was connecting the dots. So, in our moonlighting period, we were taking calls with industry professionals, potential, co-manufacturers, and then most importantly, prospective investors. So, in connecting those three, we put together our, go-to-market strategy, and we were able to identify an incredible co-manufacturer to bring our products to life. That was the most fun part, was testing the liquid and of course getting that right. But also, goes without saying, creating the brand and the story and the logos on the cans and the cartons. So, it took about 6 months or so to get it all right. And, most importantly, we were able to raise the capital in order to get us to launch and get us live.
Yeah. And I think like in that process, in addition to finding that contract manufacturer, you gotta do the research to figure out what other components to the product you need to suss out. So cartons, cans, all these elements to the cost of goods sold of your product. Doing that research and understanding its costs and what the all encompassing cost to your product is was a huge lift and project unto itself, because ultimately that impacts the price that you sell it to your distributor and then down the line to your consumer. So that was a whole project and exercise that took a fair amount of time as well in that ramp up period.
Got it. So when you talk about product testing, I'm sure you guys are doing lots of tasting, right? That was a super fun part. How did you know when you got it right?
I mean, we kind of, we sat down at the bar right there at our contract manufacturer's brewery, and he rolled out 5 or 6 iterations of our classic flavor, and playing with the proportions of mint, cranberry, etc. And it's and basically they all tasted different, and so we it was we were feeling pretty good afterwards, but it was a lot of note taking, a lot of you know making sense of the pros and cons of each of those iterations to then kind of say, okay, what will we change? And then we did a turn on that. He brought out another 5 or 6, and then ultimately we arrived at 1 or 2 that made a lot of sense. They were delicious, and then he took that to his, on a Saturday afternoon. His brewery was filled with 100 plus people. He just surveyed it across all those consumers. We did the same back home with hundreds of our friends and families, and then got some just great feedback. I think you need to survey whatever product you're bringing to market to get reaction from people who have different taste profiles. So after that survey process, we arrived at the formula that we then registered with the TTB and brought to market.
Awesome. Was there a clear winner, or was there lots of feedback where you had to kind of consolidate and then make some tough choices?
There wasn't a lot of variation in the second round. The first round, there were some clear winners, but in the second round, you're kind of dialing it in, and then you ultimately needed to make a decision, and it could have gone one of a couple ways, but we felt like we really hit with the one that we got, and down the line you can do it again and you can adjust your flavor complexion, but we feel like we really didn't need to, luckily. So I don't know if you have anything to add, Kev. I feel like we kind of dialed it in on that second round, and it was good to go.
Yeah, I mean, I think just going back to the original question, I think when Will and I really knew we had clear winners in our liquid is when you're behind a sampling table at retail and you get the consumers' reactions in person. These are people outside your network, outside your manufacturing facility that are giving you their honest feedback. And, we joke about it, how often we would always get the phrase, "Oh, this is actually good." And, in our first year, it was probably every Saturday, somebody would say that at some point throughout our samplings. But we love that because that's, their honest in the moment reaction. So I think that's when you really know.
Fantastic. All right. So you get to the point where you've got a product you're happy with, consumers that you've tested are happy with, your manufacturer's ready to start cranking out product. You talked about having the metrics dialed in for your distributors and retailers. What's next after that? How do you actually get into retailers? What was your process for that?
Yeah. You want to go, Will? I can go too.
Sure. I mean, next is, you get a distributor in your market. The 3-tier system with the beverage alcohol requires you to go through an intermediary, which is a distributor, before you get into retail. But what's next is when you decide to launch, the timing of that launch is always pretty important depending on the product you're selling. We tend to do very well in the warmer months. So leading into the spring of 2022, we kind of planned out a full-on blitz of the market. First, we started with a sales kickoff with our distributor sales team to say, what is our product positioning in the market? What's the pricing? What are our value propositions? Why should a retailer carry us on the shelf? So that they are incented and armed to go out to the market and put our product in stores. But then us as founders, the 3 of us co-founders, Taylor, who's not with us today, we just divided and conquered. We got in our cars with samples and we told the story to hundreds of retailers. And when you're kind of coming to the market with that local New England-based look and feel brand, the reactions were great and got us in stores. I don't know, Kev, if I missed anything.
No, I mean, nothing to add. I mean, at the end of the day, the people that are going to sell your product best are yourselves. So, that's been our mentality since day one. And to Will's point, the 3 of us just been pounding pavement and putting just an excessive amount of miles on our cars over the past 3 years.
Nice. What have been some of your biggest struggles getting into retail, manufacturing, just everything related to the brand in the past couple of years?
Yeah, I think like national brands have so much strength that breaking consumers of that kind of automated, buying process of walking in the store to buy XYZ brand is tough. It takes one consumer at a time, and I don't think Kevin and I thought we would spend so many Friday and Saturday nights in stores, but that's what it takes. It's touching every consumer with the value proposition, getting sips to lips, explaining the differences and letting them experience it themselves. And then ultimately you have that fan and consumer for life is the goal, but it's tougher than you think.
Sips to lips. Haven't heard that term. I love that.
Yeah.
Sips to lips and cans in hands is how we say it.
There we
Stack
go.
them high and let it fly. Build. We got punchlines for everything.
You got all the titles for your next rap album. I'll tell you that. So how do you guys? So it sounds like retail is a primary driver of sales. How are you thinking about retail versus online?
Yeah, I mean, retail has been priority number one. We've had sales online since summer of 2023, and really the driver of that was to gather data and customers and trying to map out the regions where our products were purchased outside of our core. We've invested a little bit in DTC, but really the majority of our investment is to drive sales at retail. while complementing our sales with, online capabilities.
Yeah, people still by and large buy their booze online, or excuse me, in store. It's not like a clothing product or um, something quick fix on Amazon buying toothpaste or the like. It's something that still is hasn't fully transitioned to online purchasing, but it is. So we just all these little towns or miniature markets that we want to inflict, um, build brand awareness with, and it requires you to be there. So we invest pretty much all of our time in store while just allowing folks to buy online if they'd like.
Yeah, and we did kick off the business by offering merch sales online, and they were doing well. I think what we found, Will and I, was, our house was just covered in boxes, and it would take us 3 hours just to package all of the merch daily, and it was kind of negating the primary, which is to, sell our products at retail and then have our online sales complement that.
Yeah, it's always a challenge for if you're somewhat early stage is how do you prioritize your hero products versus diversifying the product lineup?
Yeah,
Because, if you've got a consumer who's got an appetite for lots of different types of products, then, especially with online, one of your biggest cost drivers is going to be the cost required to cost even in retail, right? You guys are spending lots of time on the weekends, spending time educating that consumer. So once you've got them educated, then it's okay, how do you maximize the value and have that consumer come back time and time again? Now, what's nice about a beverage brand is they're consumable. People are going to drink these and they're going to want more, right? But other flavors are really nice. But it's like, yeah, can you do other products like merchandise? But if so, how do you get that as a value add to consumers where they're excited about it, but it doesn't distract from you focusing on the main thing, which is selling your beverages? So yeah, it's a challenge that, we see with lots of early stage e-com brands where it's, you know, if you diversify too much too soon, not only are you going to be distracted as founders, and there's a cost to just operationally managing that stuff, but then you're tying some revenue and profit and cash just in that merchandise instead of being able to turn that back into the business. So yeah, it's a question that lots of brand owners have. So it's nice that you guys were testing that, but it sounds like most of your efforts are just selling drinks, which is
There's a whole lifestyle of our brand that we want to continue to grow. Memories, backyard, beach, boat, pool, memories with your friends. There's a lifestyle to what we've built, and if and when the time comes where we can start to have a little bit more of a merchandise focus, great. We're just tirelessly building our brand in stores, and that's the focus. But it's not to kind of pigeonhole us there if the lifestyle side of the brand picks up.
Yep, makes sense. Yeah, because there could be a really good opportunity down the road for going after transplants, right? So people from Cape Cod, different parts of the country, where that's where you can really leverage your D2C, potentially the
yeah,
beverages, but then also all the merch associated with it. That can be pretty neat for people who want a taste of home, but they live in Arizona, or North Carolina, or Florida.
Hmm.
But sounds like you guys are focused on the biggest opportunity, which is your local market and just educating those consumers. So awesome.
So,
Well, why don't you tell us about the Start Engine campaign that you guys have kicking off in January? What was the impetus for
sure.
that, and what would success look like to you for that campaign?
Yeah. Yeah, we're excited to launch it. I think, for us, the concept of crowdfunding was relatively new in a business that is at the stage that we're in as a venture, early stage venture. You raise funds, in chunks, usually annually, as you continue to grow. So we've done that, 2021, 2022, and 2023. This year, the crowdfunding made sense mainly because of our focus on top line marketing, creating this bigger brand awareness around our product that drives people to stores looking for us instead of us pulling in store sampling our product. and then raising capital at the same time. So, for us, the concept of raising money from, thousands of passionate fans and drinkers, one creates an avid community that markets drinks and buys Cape Cod'r themselves, and that's how you kind of build that community even further. We're looking to raise around $1.235 million to fund the marketing programs that we have in place across our 3 markets of Massachusetts, Rhode Island, and Connecticut. So it all is going to, building that avid community and then building capital to fund marketing efforts in 2025 and beyond.
Right. So from a consumer standpoint, what does that look like? What do consumers?
Yeah.
What does that look like from their standpoint?
Well, I mean, again, crowdfunding was new to me. It's still pretty much a young concept, but the SEC opened up this crowdfunding Form CF to allow ventures to raise funds from the general public um, at small minimums, and so ventures, startups can raise money at a minimum of $250, $300 and participate in equity ownership of a business. So for us, we're running a pre-campaign right now across social media to build that awareness of the campaign, so that on January 7th, when it launches, all of those folks interested will understand the investment and can go to the Start Engine crowdfunding page, check out with their credit card, and join the Cod'r team. So over the next 3 weeks, folks that are interested in the campaign can drop their name into our crowdfunding campaign link, where they'll be fed some emails that'll inform them of the crowdfund raise, perks that come along with it, what the terms of the deal are. For us, it's a convertible note with a $6 million valuation cap and a discount rate, as well as an 8% interest on that note. And but if you invest at certain levels, we have some really fun experiential perks, like cruises in Newport, 1-night stays and in Newport, and free swag and free products. So we're really excited about it.
So why is every early stage consumer brand not doing this?
Because it's new.
Yeah.
I don't think that it's very broadly known as a vehicle to help raise capital, but it's growing. So
Yeah, and I would add that the platforms, they have a criteria for what companies are accepted onto the platform. So, to your point, like, you're not wrong. Like, everybody should be investigating and figuring out the capabilities of launching their brand there. But you have to be at the right point in your business for it to truly make sense. And, without the community that we've already built, it wouldn't make sense for us. So we're just really looking to grow that and, have our people become official ambassadors of the brand.
So I know you haven't kicked it off yet, but at this stage, knowing what you know now, what type of brand do you think this would make sense for? So it sounds like community. They've got to have some community, right? Already built up.
yeah, I think where they do the best is when they have an avid community of subscribers, whether that's through Shopify. People have subscribed to newsletters or Facebook pages, subscribe to companies' Facebook pages. Having that community from which to market a campaign like this is such a head start. Since we were predominantly in stores, we had our Instagram or Facebook communities to lean on. But if a brand has a big community, that's a huge lift. But you don't need that to start. A lot of these campaigns, what they do is, there's a lot of prep work that goes into them. It's called pre-campaigning. And so over, a 4 to 8 week period, really drilling down on social media, paid advertising, getting the brand out there, attracting interest and building that pipeline of interested community and leads is super critical for when you launch the program. because on these platforms like WeFunder and Start Engine, so much of the momentum impacts the end result that you want to have a fast start. So within a week to 2 weeks, having all those folks that you've been pre-campaigning to come in fast allows these platforms to then boost that venture, your venture, to their thousands of subscribers in their platform, and that's kind of how it works. A lot of these platforms will raise about 50 to 70% of your capital raise. But for those interested in crowdfunding, know that it's a lot of work up front as founders, as the core team, to build that initial push.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it's not too different than more traditional crowdfunding platforms, right? So Kickstarter, Indiegogo, I think there used to be more questions about, or I'd say incorrect assumptions from some brand owners who would think, hey, I've got a new product idea. I'm going to launch it on Kickstarter and I'm going to become a millionaire overnight. Like I'm definitely going to get, my full ask. And that's without any audience, any community, any history of sales. And that just typically doesn't happen, right? There's got to be some type of already either set of influencers or community, or you've got a history of sales, or you're going to push a bunch of money into paid ads to build that off platform,
Mm-hmm.
because the platforms, everybody wants to make money, right? So the platforms want to prioritize brands and products that are already selling well. And if they promote a new product and nobody's buying it, they're not going to prioritize that anymore, because otherwise it's going to be a wasted impression. They want to maximize all of their views and their whole community. So it makes sense that they're going after, they'll prioritize brands that have audience, and that you guys are doing the same thing, just from a different standpoint, where you're actually offering some ownership in the business, which I think is fantastic. So, I completely get the benefits where it's, you're gonna build, like, the community is gonna be even stronger, right? You're gonna have raving fans if people have some ownership in the business. Having these experiential, let's say, awards or tiers, those are just opportunities for virality based on the let's say the tier that you're offering. And it just provides this really cool way for people to talk about the brand, right? And instead of it just being it's not just a consumer brand from my hometown, right? From Cape Cod. Instead, it's, hey, it's my hometown. And guess what? I'm part owner because they did this really
Yep.
cool thing where I paid a few $100 or whatever it is. And now I own X% of this. That's super cool.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to tell everybody, right? Because they have vested interest, and it's something cool to say, yeah, I love this brand, and I'm a part owner. So
Mm-hmm.
the benefits there are super clear from a marketing standpoint. What are you guys doing to prep for that?
Well, Kevin and I, uh, we're basically building. I mean, we have been raising funds over the past 3 years, regularly. So we kind of know our positioning on the market, the size of the market, the growth in our segment of ready to drinks, the spirit based segment. So in terms of building the business case, that hasn't taken as much time, I think, for us. The majority of the time we're spending is creating email campaigns, social media engaging posts, educating folks on the business, and doing just outreach to our friends, family, and network. Um, that's pretty much what we're doing full time, is building that list of leads that are aware of and interested in this campaign, so that January 7 rolls around and they're ready to rock and roll. So we're doing 1,000 things. I think that's pretty much what sums it up, is like, reaching out to folks, building content, informing folks of all the details of the deal, and preparing for a hot start. I don't know, Kev, if I'm missing anything, but that's pretty much full time.
No, that about sums it up.
Awesome. So looking back, I know you guys have been in this for a few years now. If you had to start over, knowing now, or knowing then what you know now, what's something you would do differently?
It's a loaded question.
I mean, I look back on our journey. I'll kick it off, Will, and maybe you can connect the full thought if it starts to go on. But you know, I don't know if it's necessarily possible to do anything differently in beverage alcohol. The requirements to launch a brand, it's super capital intensive. You have to have the right branding. You have to have a story. And at the end of the day, we're not owned or backed by an influencer or a larger alcohol conglomerate like, AB InBev, Diageo, Gallo, whoever else. So really, looking back at our journey and piecing it together, raising the capital that's needed, telling our story, getting our customer base. I don't have like one specific example of something we would do drastically different. There's obviously incremental things that, looking back, we could have done better or done differently. But more of a general answer to the question, but Bev
It's
Alc is
tough.
one of the toughest industries to get into for any entrepreneurs listening. We've called out a lot of things. I mean, in order to start a brand, you got to be fully in it. We left corporate in uh, April 2022, and you know you got to be comfortable with being behind the table and selling your brand. It's exhausting. It's challenging. Um, and you're going to tell your story thousands and thousands of times, and you got to get comfortable with that. And I remember an investor actually telling us that in a meeting maybe back in 2022, and it's just stuck out. It was just like, your story doesn't need to be perfect, but just get ready to tell it countless, countless times. And I love doing that, but he was right. Um, so
I bet Kev's pretty sick of hearing me talk, and vice versa. But we tell the same story over and over again. But the beauty of what we're doing is people are interested. People are loving the brand direction, what we're going for, the drinks. It's if you weren't selling something that one you believed in and two you weren't getting good feedback on, then maybe you should consider folding shop. Just maybe. Like you want to make sure you have something that's got traction and legs. And when you have that, you're every day you're living your dream because you built something that you care about and you love to tell a story. So, what gets us out of bed every morning is just all of the positive feedback we get from consumers across our 3 states and beyond. And so all the hard work doesn't really discourage us. We do it because we love it. And but yeah, I think if original question, what would you have done differently? It's tough because to figure that out because Kevin and I try to do our homework and we talk to a lot of industry professionals to be like, what exactly makes a successful, consumer packaged goods brands? It's sampling, it's promoting in restaurants and in stores. Um, it's creating experiential events and partnerships, and we're doing all that. I think we're just, we're learning how to do them better and at scale. And so, uh, I wish we had the knowledge that we have today 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
yeah,
But
that's
that's
a good way to put it.
yeah.
Well, very smart move connecting with people who have been there, including investors, to find out what makes a successful business so that you guys can make sure that Cape Cod'r has those elements even at the beginning. So we just have a few minutes left, so we're going to move to the speed round. So either you guys can jump in. If you both have a cool answer, fire away, but each of
Yeah.
these should be like 30 seconds or less. So what is one of your most recommended books?
Right now, for me, I'm into two genres: entrepreneurship, startup, and history. Like every 30-plus-year-old man, I think at this point. So, um, one recently, Burn the Boats, really enjoyed, and I think startup and entrepreneurship books are sometimes tough, and difficult to relate to your current business, but I think in reading it was very interesting to hear his perspective on sticking with the original plan and how we can apply that to our business.
Yeah. Guardians at the Gate, and Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Hanneman. Really good book for folks that um, want some good advice as being a founder. Tactics not to get too high and too low.
Nice. What's an under the radar product or brand that either of you have used and like, but most people don't know about?
I'm going to give a shout out to one of my friends, Hayden. He owns a company called Nantucket Crisps, which is a potato chip company, based on Nantucket and, sold actually nationwide with a large emphasis on the Northeast. But they've created such a unique brand, very much kind of aligns to, our brand, and we've done different things with them. But, their story it's so unique, and what they're attempting to do and disrupt the very old, potato chip industry with healthier options and, a better story.
Healthy options for chips. That's an oxymoron. I came across this low calorie, more health oriented like hummus option. It's called Bezi Labne. It's like a Turkish dip that's now sold in like grocery stores regionally. That's really good, delicious dip, and it's like very low calorie and healthy. So that's one that just pops into my head right now.
Awesome. You've shared lots of different nuggets, but what's one piece of advice you have for anyone listening who is thinking about starting an e-commerce business, specifically in CPG, but hasn't yet?
Go for it.
Yeah.
Just go for it. Build it out in a smart way. Understand your market, the concepts, product market fit, understand the cost of said product and the cost of acquisition of the customer. If you do your homework in a thoughtful way, build something out while you're working on the corporate side and earning a salary. But when you have a concept that's the point where you can raise money, go out and raise it. And then when you get that first commitment, you're like, all right, I can do this. And every stage there's going to be that I can do this voice in your head, and don't mute it. Just listen to it and run with it.
Yeah. For me, it's two things. The idea itself is really only like 0.00001% of the journey of, bringing the brand to life. But additionally, don't be selfish. If you're a founder and are trying to launch your business alone, like surround yourself with the right people. It's worth it. If you're able to do it by yourself, awesome. But you're only going to make your business more successful if you realize where your weaknesses are and where the gaps are in building that business, and surrounding yourself with the people that fill that and are smarter than you in certain areas is really how you achieve success.
Love it. Love it. Where can people connect with you guys to learn more?
Yeah. LinkedIn, Instagram. Our handle is at Cape Cod'r, CODR. Check out our website, and there's a page for anybody interested to sign up to join. All of the exclusive updates and access to our Start Engine campaign launched on January 7th.
Awesome. Fantastic. We'll link to all that stuff in the show notes for anybody who's interested in purchasing product, learning more about Kevin or Will, or investing in the business, which sounds super awesome. So, Kevin and Will, thank you both so much for taking the leap and bringing Cape Cod'r to market based on your shared childhood passions and memories, sharing your expertise and insights with our audience for the delicious beverages, and for joining us on the Shopify Happy Hour.
Thank you for having us, Dan. We really enjoyed it.
All right, Dan. See ya.